bottom of the ocean. Don't know if I'll make it back home.
Welcome back, everybody. Some more UPL Summer 2021 action. We're back here once again here. The last day of the week for this. My name's Infernosis, joined here by Chief, and we've got DayCare and Candaces, which DayCare under a new name, but we'll still be calling them DayCare for this week. But they, as of next week, should be called their new name, which I believe is Woof.
That is correct. They're now going by the name of Wolf, and that DayCare roster has suffered throughout these playdays, currently sitting at the final seed in their division at the 8th place mark. Candace, their opponents today, is currently sitting in 3rd. They have a positive round differential. No, actually a round differential of only -1. Candace is a roster that's looking to be one of the favors of moving into postseason from this division. But again, there's a ton of pedigree on the side of DayCare, Scott, and they're a roster that is definitely better than where they're seated.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for a lot of the teams here. Just last Tuesday, me and John had the pleasure of casting for 2 teams. One of those teams had a complete 0-2 record, but yet still came back and completely showed themselves and showed how good they were, but they had to face the 2 top teams in their division, and hence their losses. So this is about the time in the season where we're going to see teams start to spread apart and really fall to where they belong or start to get up to where they belong on the scoreboard. So make sure to stay tuned. It's one of those pivotal sections. This section and the ending that will really determine everything. So make sure to keep up. But we'll jump pretty quickly into the map ban phase and talk about what map we'll be jumping for today.
Now, while we're going over the live map ban, I want to say one thing quickly, Scott, because there is so much talent in this series of UPL. The summer series looks incredible. But one thing is a lot of these teams with this talent, it's almost like they're playing to have fun, not always playing to win. And I can't fault them for that, because if they hop in the server and they lose, but they had a blast doing it, that's technically a win in my book. And I think DayCare Wolf is going to be in that bracket. Their primary goal is not necessarily take the cash prize at the end of the day, but just to be a 5-stack that memes, have fun, and, you know, if they take a few play days under their belt as victories and they beat some of the good teams along the way, that's just, you know, more cannon fodder that they could put on Twitter and blast their opponents.
Yeah, you would know a lot about blasting opponents on Twitter. Let's be honest. We've all seen your feed here, Chief. But 3 maps taken off already. Coastline Clubhouse in Oregon. Quickly followed suit with Consulate, taking out one of the larger maps. Chalet is still up on the board. could be gotten rid of. We have 3 large maps still up there. Chalet now taken out. Cafe and Villa are the last 2 standing. I pray to every higher being that may exist, please do not play Cafe again. I've already done it twice this week alone here for the UPL. I do not want to have to do it a third. Last band to go through. It's going to be taking out Cafe. Thank you. And Villa will be the destination of choice for this roster. It's interesting to see that all of the larger maps were the last ones to be banned. Coastline Clubhouse and Oregon, some of the smaller maps in total overall size and hallway size, they're not being played today, which is a very interesting decision to see them remove those.
Now, I don't have direct statistics in front of me, Scott, but just from my experience, and you echoed this earlier, it seems like a lot of teams here in UPL are gravitating towards the same 2 maps. It's Cafe and Villa. And why Villa is my favorite map, I'm starting to get concerned that it's becoming this crutch map for so many teams because it's like the perfect combination of all maps. But at a certain point, if you overplay it, all the strengths of the map, the ability for the attackers to come up with very unique strategies on the fly, the defender's ability to always, maneuver around the map and create their own unique ways of dealing with the attackers mid-round. At some point, all the intricacies of the map is going to go away because somebody is going to figure it out. And a map like Villa is going to turn into CCTV of Clubhouse, which was the default bomb site. Everybody loved it. It was beyond powerful. And now look where it is, Scott. It's become this just masterpiece for the attackers. They open up the default wall, and all of a sudden the defenders are now scrambling to attempt to hold their bomb sites. If you're watching any of the Latin America from earlier today, I believe it was the Mexican series, we were seeing them, bring out Lord Tachanka and Smoke to attempt to deal with that, but not quite the case. Now, we're talking about a different map, but it's still concerning to me that, Clubhouse went from being a staple to not played at all. And my concern is Villa is going to enter into that mix, and that's going to pain me because I love this map.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and send it right into it. We'll go ahead and digest a little bit more of what you're talking about. Just like CCTV on Clubhouse, Cafe is kind of falling suit into that as well. Attackers are kind of falling in and are doing a little bit better than they used to. And that's kind of a sad thing to see, maybe a good thing to see. Defense has typically been the more preferred side for a lot of maps, but in my opinion, seeing attackers start to close that distance and actually start to win more rounds on Cafe makes Cafe a little bit more interesting. Band phase underway. Wolf is the team starting off on the defense, and Candace will be starting off on the attack. Wolf's going to get their first attacking ban. Thatchers are pretty rare to see banned here, Chief, but it doesn't mean that they aren't banned at all. Some teams will still prefer to remove them, and in fact, it's going to be that case right here. Thatcher out for the count, and that's going to remove a possible ban for maybe a Jackal or maybe a long-range Selma using Ace. A lot of teams want to remove some of the hard breachers at range to make it harder for them to breach in from this outside verandas and from the master bedroom wall.
I'm starting to lean more and more towards Flores. He's a utilitarian operator. He's extremely powerful. He bypasses any type of util hold because you don't have to deal with the util burn. But as you mentioned, Selma charges can be quite powerful in this map. Every one of these walls, as the Selma charge detonates, creates a large opening, not only just a rotation, but an angle in which the attackers can hold cutoffs. The offense can still do something very similar with X-Cairo pellets and probably more accurately, but the holes just aren't as large. And if you want to make a crouch level hole, 2 6x6s might be required unless you find, the proper combination of 1 2x3 and then a 2x2. Mira has been a staple here on Villa. Poison has been pioneering the Mira meta, always playing that operator, but now she's going to fall here on Villa and Mozzie to follow suit, denying drones and just an absolute menace running around the entire map will be silenced.
Yeah, the roaming meta that's really very prevalent right now in R6, especially with the fact that Cafe and Villa have been such a big presence inside of the pool right now. Roaming is such a key presence, and you need to have a strong roam game and to stay competent on the field. You need to be able to spread out. Maybe not always an SSG-esque roam, but you still need to have competent roamers out there ready to either get early picks, get late picks on an outside flank, on a late flank, or just to find the information they need to figure out where the attacking team may be heading towards. But a big thing to point out here is the fact that Valkyrie was left standing here in Villa. Valkyrie's a guarantee ban on almost any Cafe map, so it's interesting to see another large map like Villa have Valkyrie be unbanned and left standing. This may be why we're seeing the IQ in play as well from Junior. it's maybe a counterplay, maybe something they're anticipating. They're wanting to work against it. There is a lot of utility has to be placed for this Wolf defense. It does make sense to have the IQ in any normal play, but it just has not been standard. This could be because of the nerfs we've seen recently to Zofia, teams not wanting to pick her up and play her. It's all have to tell. I mean, I know for a fact our observer knows the nerf recall that came to the Team 762 because we saw him playing with it earlier, and having to switch to the pistol get any job done.
Matt Bonger on secondary support flank watch. I don't think I would ever see the day that the primary Ash main is now on a supporting role. I mean, who would drop down to that role when you have Junior, who's also a primary secondary entry? Phoenix will fill that role. Reverse goes into the primary flex role. So you have so many entries on the side of Candace. I guess somebody has to draw the short stick. And we've seen players like Pat Crack able to go entry mode with flank, particularly on that Nomad. But you can have all the best primary entries in the world. You can have the feet smeller of Jackal in play. He's able to find one of the feet, but he makes a critical mistake. He doesn't end up droning out any of Astro, and he now loses his life. Only one scan used, and now Candace is going to have to find a hole in their offense to continue to move on forward.
It's a massive deficit, losing that utility, and now you're going to have a massive danger in front of you for where to step, because at any moment, that same defensive player that's been roaming around will be able to step up and find you again. Dommy's found one. No way to stop him from finding two if you don't know where they lie. It does look to be Dommy has not fully stepped back to the objective. Still sitting on first floor right now in a company position, waiting it out in Memo for a moment's notice for one player in Candace to make the mistake to step into landing and not watch their flank. Reverse now pulling up the camera. This could be dangerous if Dommy does decide to step out, but the safety net has to be gathered for this Candace roster as Junior now makes the rotation over as well. Getting rid of some of the active utility that has to be placed. Reverse finds a nade into Gasher, and a nice one at that, now making it into a 4v4 and tying it back up. And that does garner a larger safety net to step into Classical Hall.
Smoke playing far too aggressive too early on. Now both rosters now equalizing. Dommy is going to spring into action, and Vader will do the same. Now it's Wolf fully in control of this round. Reverses DBNO, and now it's Joe, a support player. Forced to find 4 in this round. Isolated over on the study balcony, and Wolf's going to start to give him some kills. Able to find one, and getting onto Cam. What are you doing, Valkyrie? How is the misplay being done by Dommy? Eventually being shut down, but getting on the middle of cameras and the middle of a door frame. Quite a blunder. I'm not sure if he just fat fingered 5 on his keyboard or something, but mistakes are made in that sequence. Now 30 seconds left. Joe's going to be forced to retrieve the diffuser. It's going to be an avenue up Ren, but Rift is there to greet him with a shotgun. Goo Mine goes off, and Rift will get a free kill as a result. A good round all the way for DayCare. Able to hold the fort down, taking perfect calculated aggression, and all around Candace falling.
Wolf knew exactly what to do in that moment as well. Notice how they didn't stay on the objective or even inside hunting vaults. They completely stepped away, both of them heading towards landing and towards that staircase. They knew that Candace's side Joe was just going to walk around the other direction. They knew there's no way this player is continuing to push outside, try to step into study. It's just not going to happen. They outsmarted him and completely outplayed them. And that's something that we weren't necessarily anticipating from Wolf early on. Candace is a very solid roster, and it's interesting to see how quickly they were felled in that process, and it should have been an even more lopsided affair, but we had the fat-fingered 5, as you called it here, Chief, that came through that made it a little bit easier for Joe to get 1 or 2 more kills on top of it, and it could have been a much more lopsided affair on the scoreboard, but nonetheless, a very nice round. Dommy found 2 for themselves, same as Vader, and that's going to make this spread very far. Chief, I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction here from what I saw from Dommy in that roaming very early on. Dommy is going to be one of the biggest threats against this Candace assault if Candace cannot continue to deny this roam.
Expansion over into Coat is going to be the macro strategy for Wolf. We've seen this plenty of times, but this is going to be kind of a different iteration. It's going to be a dock and play, but no MP5, no Meme 90. It's going to be the CQC shotgun. That's something new. Very rarely do you see this weapon. It has a grip on it, and honestly, this shotgun slaps. It's practically a sniper. It has incredibly long range, and if it's used right, if you're anywhere outside of that window, that eastmost window of Coat, you're going to get absolutely rocked. So moving into this offensive stage for Candace, they have to be very careful in how they push on forward. Maybe it's in their best interest to push on from the south. Identifying some of the vertical angles, preventing access in the kitchen might be the undoing of Candace, but those shots being exchanged in from the bathroom, missing every single one of its shots, giving Candace access to full control of kitchen, and the vertical pressure can start.
Ooh, nasty shotgun does come through. Vader immediately finds it through the floorboards. Doesn't need to be a sniper at that range. It just needs to get the job done, and it did exactly that. Mount Bongo does manage to find Spiker out, but Refrag now as Junior is felled from that same shotgun from Vader. A very large threat right now for this roster that is Candace. They're all being felled by a single man and a single shotgun. Casher steps into the master bedroom, attempting to fire through the outside window, but nothing connecting at that time. You saw the man, but you did not fire. Matt falling to Vader again. Vader going for the shot, finds another on top of it, finding reverse, and it's just Joe left standing. Knocked back once more, but unfortunately for him, Joe is nowhere nearby to clean up off of the utility, and a 4v1 in effect once again. And Vader has been the man of the round, man of the last 5 minutes, and it's looking to be that this round's going to be an easy cleanup for this Wolf roster.
If Vader gets an ace with a CQC shotgun, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, Scott. Like, how does that gun find all these kills? He's rotating up red. Little does he know he's being followed from behind. Team kills, the BM already starting. Vader, you're going to have contact. Go for the swing, and he does it. The ace, CQC shotgun, feeds on Candace and eats them alive. An insane round. Mistakes were made all around. Candace, how do you lose to that gun?
What the heck did we just watch here, Chief?
I don't know, Scott.
I'm in awe, honestly. Like, I've never seen... First off, I've actually only seen that shotgun used in competitive play maybe 3 times. And every single time I've seen it used... It lost. It completely got 0 kills. They were taken out immediately. That extended coat check room that we thought was going to be played wasn't really played. They kind of got spotted immediately, and Vader had to take a different direction. Instead, stood next to the actual master bedroom hard wall and then completely shot through the floorboards and set themselves up for a round of not just success, but massive success. Could have been a flawless round if it wasn't for the fact that a team kill came through and they were kind of memeing a little bit, but the memeing obviously worked for them in their favor because the CQC shotgun devastates at short, long, and medium range. It's a DMR, and it's all retrospect. It's nasty to see. I always make the joke that the Supernova is my favorite DMR in the game. I always say I like to bring the Amaru DMR whenever I play on the attack, but it's not. That shotgun is worse, Chief. And I don't think anyone anticipated this meta change to go through and have a shotgun come forward.
I mean, I said it was good, and it's not bad if you're hitting your shots. And I guess Valder, to his credit, hit every single one of his shots. He hit 5 of them this round, and now Spiker is going to try to do something similar. It seems like this game is already devolving into just a ranked meta, chaotic, let's just swing and take gunfights. Spawn peak's already taking place, but map control slowly mounting for Candace. Flying in through art, but they're going to have to take on some gunfights. Reverse finds one, instantly refrang, as Dami will get that trade on back. So both rosters now equalizing, but the attempt to swing in from the south side of the map is just not working at all for Candace. Dami finds his second in this round. He sprints away from his contact. Joe on flank watch with the cutoff, able to get that. So once again, perfect refrangs being made by the offense, but at what cost to the arsenal of attackers they have, because their 2 primary entries have been lost. You will have Junior able to subsidize that since he's on the Iona, not only acting as an additional droner, but when you give him that G36C with an angled grip, 2.5 times sight, he'll be a menace.
Yeah, Joe, it's looking to be once again Joe's that pivotal force, one of the last players always standing for this Candace roster. It fits the role for what he's playing, is that long-range hard breach and playing his utility correctly. But in my opinion, they're not able to pick up enough kills. Joe's kind of that pivotal fragger that they need. And that's strange to see. You talked about it earlier in round one, to see a player like Matt jumping over to utility instead. They have so many fraggers on their roster, but it seems to be that only a few are finding success against this Wolf defense, and there needs to be changes made. Junior tosses one nade over, managing to cash Gasher in the process. Still has one nade in the pocket. Gemini Replicator ready to go. Has drawn something on the wall there for a moment, but Spiker now rotating out for Memo, and he's going to be able to shoot out a drone and watch this main door. Flash is still being dumped inside. Now Pinky once again. They're not looking to jump forward. Nate tossed! He finds a headshot hit, but Spiker finds Joe in the process. Not happening for Matt as he finds two. An absolutely phenomenal attacking round in the last few moments, denying once... for the first time, I guess I should say, Wolf's defense in that extended roam and heavy aggression play.
The strength of Candace in that round was their ability to guarantee their refrags. They technically lost 2 opening duels, but the key aspects of that round for Candace was their ability to get those kills back, always making sure if they lost one of their teammates, they were able to remove somebody from Wolf just as quickly. And after that, Candace, they are able to take map control. They're able to apply pressure in through library, coming in through China. And then it's just util dump, flashbangs, frag grenades, forcing Spiker to get aggressive over in Memo. But since he's in a 2-way gunfight on that door frame, while he's an incredible player, unable to deal with that. The other members on the bomb side over by Kitchen, they're unable to deal with their crossfire, and they end up falling one by one. That's one of the problems with a hyper-aggressive defense like that, Scott. If you expand too far out to the south, all of a sudden you might lose your entire defending strategy. Sure, you've taken some entry fraggers down with you, but if you never really wasted time, you never really raced the drone economy, it could come back and bite you. And again, it's kind of like an opportunity cost. What is more important in a round, to waste time or to get kills? And just depends on the scenario, depends on what strategy you're going for, because there's some times where you can waste the entire round and there might be a 5v5 with 5 seconds left on the clock, but if the attackers just have to storm in through, a door frame or fatal funnel, that might not be a good position to have all of your roster count compared to a 3v3 with well over 2 minutes left.
I think one of the big things you have to point out there is the fact that Wolf set up their defense, their operator picks, to defend a vertical push, one that came through destroying the floorboards. It didn't happen, and unfortunately, it's looking to be already falling apart a little early as well. Phoenix finds a kill with the LMG-11 into Vader's head, and going back to that last round to digest a little further, Candace decided to attack from Skylight Hall, jumping in a Memo and working the other direction. They started from the first floor and continue to work towards the first floor objective. They didn't play towards Wolf's attempted defensive strategy and made it their own attack, and that's exactly what they need to do. Phoenix steps up, does find Dami, refragged back though by Spiker. Reverse finds Gasher, who attempted to go over to Spiker to maybe assist, but a dangerous position nonetheless. Spiker finds Reverse inside of Study, trapped now behind the door main stairs, stepping over towards the Study side. We'll be able to take a step back towards the main stairs, but one man is prowling right nearby. Finds the shot onto Matt's head. A 3K now for Spiker. 2 players do remain. Joe's on the veranda side with some assistance from Junior on the outside window towards Study. Joe has some flashes to toss forward, expending and dumping his utility, and it looks to be that Spiker is going to take a step back through Lamplight and actually make his way back towards Classical Hall.
The round was looking so good for the offensive side of Candace. They were able to get those opening duels early on, but now all the strengths they had, it's going to come down into the evolution of this round. You have to take your gunfights. You have to win them. Joe just jiggle peeking around the Study door frame, goes DBNO. Diffuser surrendered, and the Pokeball to catch the ball. There's Rift's final kill, and Junior, the hopes around 4 for Candace is all on his back. 30 HP to his name, and a Spiker who was eating up. He finishes the 4K. What has Spiker done on defense? He looked like he just single-handedly saved the day for his team. It looked that way because he did exactly that.
Man, we can see it once again. Wolf looks spectacular on the main 2 objectives because Candace, it doesn't look to be that they have any strategies that are strange or throwing things up in the air, some sort of change to be had in their attacking strategy. It's cookie cutter for the two main objectives for planes and games and statuary. They're not spicing things up. When it comes to the tertiary choice, what used to be meta of going to the second floor and clearing floorboards has taken a little bit of a back seat, but teams still will go for that defense. Beyond that, they also play operators that can defend that and also defend the downstairs pantry rush that can come forward, but neither of those strategies came to fruition, and Candace plays a first floor skylight push, and that's exactly what worked. But there is no option for that. They're not playing a strange strategy that could spice things up. They're doing cookie cutter, and that's where they're falling, because this Wolf defense knows exactly what to do in these scenarios. Just click better. They don't need necessarily this high stressed out strategy to defend against this Candace assault, because they know what's going to work against it, and they know where they're going to push from. So just place your crosshair there and click faster, and it's going to work. And we're seeing just that. Spikers has 5 now, despite not having any in the first 2 rounds. Dami still has 4. Vader has 7 at this point in time. Gasher may have none, but the utility use has been phenomenal for them, and they've been working with great success all across the board. It just seems to be that Candace, despite seeming even across their scoreboard, is just not doing enough all across to gain that level of success they need to get another round win.
I think that just comes down to Candace likes to move fast, and sometimes they just move faster than their entries can gather information. That's going to be really shown as they push in through study. There are 2 members of Wolf in the AVG area, and if the drones of Candace just move too quickly and they don't really identify what this hold looks like, an entry fragger just might haphazardly walk his way from that study balcony into study proper and get smoked as a result. Now, there is some twists and turns for Candace. It's going to be Phoenix on that 90 rappel. That's going to be a cutoff, so no classical hallway rotation, but main stairs is a viable place. With Spiker now holding down the fort, Reverse finds a first kill. Spiker should be able to get the kill. Great trigger discipline by them, but no more will mount in their directions. Reverse finds a second kill. Study balcony now fully cleared out. AVG about to be in control of Candace, and now the forces can still mount moving forward.
Dangerous position. Reverse does take a little bit of damage off of a nitro cell toss from Gashier. Does not do enough to actually secure the kill, however, and Reverse is able to hop onto a drone, so they're generally replicated when the time comes to gather the information they need to push to the objective in a safe manner. Another kill now dropped for Reverse, 3K to their name as they take out Gashier. Gashier will still not be able to pick up and secure a kill in this round, and it's up to Rift and Vader. Vader has very low HP, sitting below at about 20. 7 kills to their name. You'll have to make it 11. Ooh. Finds one a trade now as Matt takes out Rift, but Rift took Reverse out first, denying any chance of the ace. Vader's now left standing in a 1v3. Can they get it done now? 9x19 in hand. Finds one as they were standing outside Classical near the side of the trophy. They were not able yet to make it inside. Joe's looking for the inside statuary, sprays through the wall and finds Vader as he attempted to step forward. No chance he's getting past him as he saw the absolute knockback utility for your Nomad do everything necessary to give the audio cue and the debilitating cue against that defensive player.
Look at that round from Candace. It almost looked like a different roster was in the lobby. They were slow. They were methodical, but they were calculated. They realized that their full sin, their rambunctious nature of just pushing the map early has cost them on multiple executes. So they just slow, almost like they ripped their inhaler. They took a nice deep breath and they said, we're just going to go with our basic push. We're going to go with a default. We're going to rely on the basics that any silver knows, and we're just going to push on forward. Reverse, you're going to be our entry. You're good at clicking heads. Just do that. We'll have you the information. Your job is as soon as I call, hey, there's a dude behind a door frame, you shoot him. Reverse finds 2. He pushes away in through study. Sure, some gunfights take place in the middle parts of that round, but the key aspect was Candace was always leading those frags. It comes down to a 1v3. They have full positional advantage over the south side of the map. And then you have a Capcan forced to 1v3. His SMG is a laser beam, but unable to do much beyond that. If Candace is able to replicate that exact same style of play, moving into the secondary trophy, or technically the third showing of trophy here on Villa, they might be able to end this half 3-3, because we've seen multiple iterations of this Candace offense. One of them pushing in through the east, through Coat, where they ended up getting aced on by the Doc CQC shotgun. And I don't know what that was, Scott. in all honesty, Nasher flies out, and now we'll find him his 6th death without kills.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. Why? My biggest question here, Chief, is why put him on the Malusi? A fragger that is typically used as a roam player to find picks. It's the same reason why you would play somebody on Vigil. Typically, you put your best fragger on Vigil and work towards that direction. I'll tell you what, though, Phoenix has been popping off in this round, now finding their second as they manage to take out Vader as well. Very nice decision for this Candace roster to play it a little bit slower, but it looks to me that Wolf is just giving them a couple rounds. Rift just peeking with a pistol for seemingly no reason, and Junior takes his head off in a 2v5. Now in motion, not even a minute has passed in this round, the last round before the halftime switch, and yet another kill will drop, finally in favor of Wolf, as Spiker manages to tag out Reverse. It's still a 2v4. Spiker now on the opposite side of Trophy Room sees a player does not actually shoot, as they have to dodge, having their retinas absolutely destroyed by that flash grenade tossed through. And another one will also go off. This one goes nowhere. Tommy finds a nice kill into Phoenix's head, spraying towards the opposite side of Claws. He gets rushed from master bedroom doors. Joe steps up and finds the kill. Spiker now last man standing, can't get the job done, and Matt saves his teammate from the opposing side of master bedroom, and yet it's going to end 3-3 in the first half.
Candace seemed like a team that just wanted to have fun early on in those first 2 rounds, just making mistakes based on fast executes. You mentioned earlier, Scott, that their scoreboard was pretty well distributed between the primary entries and the support players. That's because we mentioned everybody from Candace, in theory, could be a primary entry depending on their roster lineup. And once they just slowed their roll a bit, they were able to really manipulate Wolf. I mean, look at the plays they forced Wolf to make. I mean, Nasher runs out through master bedroom. Why? Because I think Wolf started to realize, hey, if Candace actually sets up their offense, there is very little we can do. If we play a slow defense, they'll just be able to systematically remove our defenders. If we play a fast defense, they'll be able to win these gunfights. So we need just to make a play. And Nasher says, hold my beer, hero play coming. He attempts the vault out. He gets slammed. More members of Wolf start to fall one by one. And I don't want to say that Wolf is out of this series yet, because they're absolutely not. Wolf is an incredibly talented team, but my concern is now that Wolf is on attack, they're going to be kind of in that loosey-goosey mentality that Candace was in the first 2 rounds, but they're not going to be able to shift back into, all right, it's go hour. We need to kind of play that mature level of Siege, and we need to just not DM and meme and fly out windows.
I think the memeing has really been a massive deficit. And MX4 Storm with the 1.5 has been a weapon that I've talked about previously. I actually did a video project for one of my classes where I had to imitate a TV news thing and actually edit it. Did that, and I talked about the updates and patches that have been coming to Rainbow Six Siege.
That is the most dirty thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I had. Well, you know, it was for an oral presentation class for college, so I can go into TV and the radio broadcasting classes. So it was a necessary thing, but I did it on Rainbow Six Siege in the patch notes on what it's going to do to affect the series. I even talked about UPL's last play day, where the first day the patch went through, people had to play the alibi with the 1.5. It's a nasty weapon already. Giving it the 1.5 is making it even dirtier. Reverse finds a kill now with it. Make it a second, making my point even more well known as they manage to take out 2. Rift does finally get 1 kill for his side, taking out Phoenix, but the damage might have already been done as this Reverse player, the alibi with the MX4 Storm, is doing this Wolf attack nasty.
I have no idea what the MX4 Storm has an angle grip 1.5 times side. It just seems overly broken because it cuts a laser beam, and if you give it ranged optics, it becomes just this wall of terror. Wolf is going to learn that lesson 2 times this round. They learn it very hard. Now the offense, still over to the south, kind of stuck in no man's land. Somebody is going to have to make a play, and Iona drones aren't going to really gather any of those information. They know Surya gates are active, and they know that there is plenty of players from Candace somewhere over on the north side of the map. They're able to maybe track the white crosshairs back or the tracers on pack, but that's not going to really gather you a ton of information. What might is now the cross coverage that has been established by Wolf. That upside down rappel on the Astro North window is going to be critical. Joe gets a little antsy, swings on forward, and the ants in his pants will cost him dearly, but Spiker Rift going down, and now it's Dami. The upside down rappel on the northmost blue window. forced to find two. One of his targets is very low HP, but as soon as he opens one of these green barricades, it's just like ringing the dinner bell, and the Pavlov dogs of Candace can start to salivate.
Great reference. Great reference. I actually genuinely enjoyed that reference. I'm not even sure how many people would actually understand that reference, Chief, but I get that reference. But last 30 seconds come through. Dami, yes, is very much so his position known, not just for ringing the dinner bell, as you would call it, breaking open those barricades outside Master Benjamin Closet. But now as he sprays forward, removing an Aruni gate and trying to get towards Bob. One player peeks, finds the angle, loses the fight, reverse misses, but Junior will not. Dami almost escaped with a round victory, but nah, it's not going to happen. This round will thankfully for this defensive side go in their favor, and Candace will walk away, should I say scrape away, with a round victory. First round of this half. Now Wolf has to think about what went wrong on their attack, and I think the biggest thing that went wrong was leaving Alibi unbanned in the current meta.
Dami is a hero. Bringing that round to a 1v1 is ludicrous. Great round by Dami. And I have to say, that 3vx that Wolf was in on attack was almost certain defeat. And most IGLs are going to just say, all right, we're going to just keep our offense in a linear manner over to the south, and we're just going to try to funnel our way through the two south door frames. Whether or not it's the east door by lamp or by the board door, it really doesn't matter. A lot of IGLs are going to say, all right, let's just push this door frame and attempt to win these gunfights. And they usually get smoked. Whoever made that call from Wolf was genius, because even most teams are going to make the rotation over to Master, but that's only a 9-degree crossfire. The power of the Astro Stars window is incredible. Overlooked far too many times and really shown how powerful can be by Dami. Able to find multiple kills in that scenario, and Candace really didn't know what was taking place, and Dami, an incredible head clicker, shows his worth once again, but sadly, it was purely in vain.
Yeah, very sad indeed. Purely in vain. Another Renault does seem to come forward for reverse. Spraying drops down now from the terrace side and will go into Art Studio. Lying down prone, does get fired through window, narrowly escapes once again with their life. Reverse tries to peek it again, but Spiker on the rappel finds the shot instead. And if he didn't, 4 more players for the Wolf roster would have found it there, because they're now rushing into Art Studio themselves. Rip now inside piano room, making the rotation over towards main stairs, wary about stepping up through landing. Wolf tends to have a very nice strategy for the attack. They're just losing their gunfights to unfortunate positions, and Candace are taking advantage of that. But now with Candace losing their alibi player with the MX4 Storm 1.5, they're going to be losing a massive player, a massive form of danger for this Wolf attack, that Wolf can now have a bit of a safety net, a bit more aggression when they decide to attack towards this new objective.
Matt Bonger is in a terrible spot. The jaws of death are all around him, but Rift, why would you just run in there? Matt Bonger should not be getting any of these kills. He's able to find 2. He was droned out, isolated in library, and no hope of ever returning back to his comrade. Nasher is in the gun vault door frame. He's just pushing on forward. His teammate Spiker is DBNO. Nasher explosions all around him. He goes down, and it's just death and despair for Wolf. That round, they find the opening kill, and Scott, they just throw everything after that.
A very interesting round to see Candace take that, despite Wolf having the opening kill like you talked about. That opening kill differential is not going to mean anything if you just continue to let a single individual player prod you into the grave, and that's exactly what we just saw. He should not have been able to find those picks. There is no reason for a 416C that has received so many nerfs recently to pop off that well, and for you to not look in their direction and actually be able to find that shot. Poor on you, Wolf, for that round. That is entirely, I don't want to say completely your fault, but there is too many faults on your attacking strategy in the way that you digested that it's just entirely incomprehensible. Matt should have died too many times. Matt popped off where they shouldn't have, and that round was done and done the second Matt stepped up and just completely carried his team through that round. But round 9, Completely different play style. Tertiary objective now in play, and Candace has to think about what they want to do towards this defense. Looking on the right side of the screen, you can see they're wanting to go for a nitro cell defense, something you typically see when players are playing the second floor. And Wolf's attacking operator lineup leads me to believe that they will go to the second floor. They have a sledge at this point in time, which makes you think they're going to bust through and attempt to actually play that second floor and maybe just fall into the nitro cell grasp of this Candace roster.
Matt Bonger in previous seasons of UPL can be considered an MVP. You know, he was definitely top 3, and you can make a strong argument that he's an MVP caliber player. But I don't think he is somebody who should be good enough to withstand Library with 5 players hunting him. He's an incredibly talented player, and give him any weapon, he's going to be terrifying. But again, it's just a misplay if you allow him to exist like that. Again, he can shoot back, but you need to put him in a scenario where he doesn't shoot. And it seems like Wolf, they're going to take matters in their own hand, already trying to flood in through Pantry. Damage being dealt out to Candace, but now the tables have turned. Joe finds 2, losing the defender in the door frame, and a third moving his way on forward for Joe. The former CLIGL starting to heat up in this round. The rush from Wolf is just falling one by one, and now it's Dami, the man of the hour, back in previous rounds, a standout player of Wolf, below 25 HP, and 4 players to hunt. On the other side of the map, it's not looking good for the sledge.
Almost fell for that alibi at that point in time, but no, very much so not looking good. I talked about the strategies earlier when Wolf was on the defense about how you would want to attack and defend, and I talked about the attacking strategy of rushing Pantry, and you can be prepared for both, but obviously the Wolf defense wasn't prepared, but the Candace defense is. They know of the strategy to actually rush in through the Pantry, and they were watching it. You can play a second floor defense with Nitros and watch Pantry. It's a double-edged sword. You just have to watch out for the hilt, which was that skylight push, but we never saw any of it. Last player remaining did attempt to go for it, but in all honesty, it was fruitless, because at that point in time, it's a 1v4. What are you as an individual player going to do? It's just not going to happen. Close, but no cigar, and honestly, it's kind of hard to even say the word close for that round. Candace and Joe specifically with that SMG-11 completely made it impossible for them to rush Pantry, and that round was stopped immediately, plugged at the doorway leading to kitchen.
All right, tangent. Aren't all swords double-edged?
No.
Oh, I guess like a saber wouldn't be, right? That's a single-edged sword?
A saber is a single-edged sword, but technically it has a pointed edge on 2 ends, so.
Oh,
but you don't stab with one of the points. You don't stab with one of the points.
So then why is it saying a triple-edged sword then?
Because it doesn't have an edge that's sharp. It only has one edge that's sharp. It just has a point.
Well, what about like a two-handed sword? Wouldn't that
like
be...
a great sword? That's a two.
Sure.
That is a double blade.
But,
that's double edge.
But then what about the point? If that's a pointy part, that could be
The point's not it's not a sharp edge though. Like it's just a point.
Tell that to the dude getting stabbed.
You wouldn't consider it an edge though, right? Like it's a point, right? Like a katana. Yeah, Tango's making a good point. A katana is typically one sharpened edge. So, but it has a point as well. You wouldn't consider the point to be like an edge. It's just a sharp point, right? If I stabbed you with a Bic pin, right? Would you consider that would you consider the point of that pin an edge?
I would be considering myself in pain. I don't think I'd be considering it an edge or anything.
You got shot with a pointy thing. You got shot with a point, not an edge. So therefore, not all swords are double-pointed. Double-edged, I mean. Matt finds the first pick onto Vader as they attempted to step in. Completely denied now. Candace at match point. And Chief at his wit's end trying to figure out how the heck swords work.
Well, steel blades are not my forte, clearly, even though I went by the name of Gorthang for a very long time, so I should have some expert in swords and stabbing devices, but nice stabs being made between both teams, each losing one of their roster mates, but the push from the south still working out for Wolf, establishing their information drones on the flank. They're going to need more surface area, and what that means, it's going to be a rotation by somebody over from Wolf. probably two members. You either go over to the east side of the map and through Master and attempt to open up the long corridor into Split. That's going to be the part of that triple wall. And it actually seems like Wolf wants none of that action. It's just going to be a press into Deer and just try to flood as quickly as possible. And it's not going to work out for them at all. Nash will be able to mitigate some of that bleeding loss, but the Nitrocell will stop that once again. It's Dami against all of Candace. We've been here before, Scott.
We've been here, and though Dominic does have two nades, or it's pretty much a done-and-done kind of scenario. The fact of the matter is these last three Kansas players, Reverse, Matt, and Junior, are on the prowl. They are hunting, and no matter the fact of having Vader find an ace in the first half with a CQC shotgun, it doesn't seem to make a difference because it looks to be they're going to lose this 7-3. They were only able to get the job done on defense, and Candace just systemically pushed them and denied them any chance on the defense. And that's exactly what we saw right there. Lying down behind Statuary, long shot angle finds the kill in a GG. Probably no re if you're on the Wolf side, completely not wanting to go back to it. Candace will take this in a near landslide victory. It looked to be close at the beginning here, Chief, but it could not have been further apart in the end.
Candace ends up losing 2 of their 3 rounds, round 1 and round 2. And honestly, Scott, it looked like Candace was just not really in the, game sense. They weren't quite into their, gun go burr, were in our full macro strategy. They're still kind of in, the loosey-goosey. They weren't quite at that, upper echelon of play yet. And maybe that was because they underestimated their opponent. Again, Wolf has plenty of talented players, but sometimes when you're just reading the leaderboard and you're the 3rd seeded team going against the 8th seeded team, you're like, this is going to be a roll. This is going to be a stomp. I'm not going to bring in any strategies for it. I'm just going to attempt to YOLO into the map. And Candace, 2 rounds in a row, just flooding on forward into certain parts of the map. They get slammed. They get aced on by a CQC shotgun. And they're like, all right, Wolf has had their BM. They've already made us bleed probably more than we should have. Now let's bring in our strats. Let's give them our 110% effort. And as soon as, Candace downshifted a few gears, they're in 3rd gear and they're ready to fly.
Yeah, and fly they did. I mean, the entire time of them on the defense was just near perfection. Only 1 or 2 rounds got close. We saw one at the very beginning from Dami's attempt to actually come back from a 2v1 and made it a 1v1 in the end and just missed the right shot to actually win that round. But beyond that round, it was completely Candace's control. They had a vice grip on the situation and completely denied Wolf's attempts at stepping forward. I mean, you'd think it's like trying to hand a dog a bone, but Wolf not really following suit with their name. They found no treats whatsoever and were just treated to a bunch of losses back to back to back, and ultimately are fell to the biggest loss of losing that map.
What an exciting week that we've had, Scott. Sadly, we're only getting 1 game on this Thursday evening. We didn't get both of our games. That Mystic game was rescheduled to a later date. Some scheduling problems took place there, but week 3 of UPL is over. If you loved what you saw today, fear not, we'll have more games next week. Starting on Monday, it'll be Light Rose and myself with you at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for more lovely games in Siege. But if you love UPL, we still have games on tonight. It's going to be League of Legends, but on the Siege side, that is it for us. But quick shout out, Tango Mango down. Not our normal producer, Hyper unable to produce today. So we stole Tango away from the collegiate team. So heart hands to you, the GOAT of collegiate, blessing us with his presence. And of course, Nova, who I memed on during our Green Room session earlier today, does a lovely job every single day. But from Scott and I, take care. We'll see you next week.